My name is Benjamin Von Wong. I'm an artist, I'm an activist, and I create large-scale objects of curiosity to support different social and environmental movements. So for me, I see art as a communication tool, an opportunity to bring people together to talk about issues that they may care about, but struggle to invite other people into the conversation. And so, for example, it might be, how do you get your kids or your family or your friends to care about what you do? The art is really just an excuse to educate through adventure. And I've never considered my art to be particularly clever. It's sort of just obnoxious. It's hard to ignore. It tries to slap you in the face in a way that helps you understand the magnitude of both the problem and the resulting opportunity. I used to believe in trying to create art that would solve the problem all on its own, and saying, like, if I could just reach people and change hearts and minds and figure it all out, then my job would be done. But I think rather than try to be the individual that's going to solve everything, rather think about what role I can play. So how can I serve one small piece of that puzzle? And in my case, I think that piece is to ignite a sense of curiosity in people so that others, like the organizations that are here, can either do the work, shift the policy, engage with the people, however they see fit. A lot of the work that I do focuses on the topic of overconsumption, right? How much material we go to in pursuit of convenience. And plastics is one of the very easy villains to point towards. I think when it comes to compostables, it's quite interesting because compostables are sort of not necessarily the end game. It's not solving everything, but it's a step in the right direction. And in stepping in that right direction, it's also creating more problems. And so part of why I'm here is to really better understand that nuance, but also to figure out what can we agree upon that we are going to drive through in hopes that perhaps there's an opportunity to create some art that lies specifically on that intersection. I've had the chance to listen now to one panel, and in that one panel, I'm wondering, oh, this idea of contamination seems to be something that everyone can agree upon that they don't like, for example. And so would contamination be an interesting focal point for folks to focus on, because contamination would hit a broader market. It could also hit industry. It can also hit policy. And I just am curious to see what happens if I sit into more panels and see how that thought evolves. The funny thing with all of these projects is that they look larger than life. They look super complex. But when you break it down, it's always one nonprofit, one organization, one community member who really wanted to see this project come to life and believe that it was going to help their community. That was a difference between the project working and not working out. Whether it was the one organization that helped me collect 168,000 plastic straws for the wave, or the one nonprofit that decided to help me convert 4 tons of bamboo into biochar. Like, no one had created art out of biochar at that scale before. I didn't even know what was possible at the time, but I needed someone who said, okay, we don't really know what we're gonna do together, but we've seen the work that you do. We believe that art has a role to play, and we'd like to play with you. Let's see what happens. And I think there's so much variability in the work that I do, because most of the time we're trying to do something that hasn't been done before. And it really just takes one group to say, like, it's worth the risk. Let's just see where it lands us. That ultimately brings things together. So my hope coming here, I think, as with all projects, is to meet the one group or one organization or one person that's like, I don't know what's possible yet, but let's just keep talking. And in that conversation, in that exploration, once in a while, something magical comes out of it. So, like, to come to design a concept and to build an art installation, we're basically spending most of our time engaged in dialogue, trying to figure out, well, like, what are we actually trying to say? What does success look like? Who are we trying to reach? What is that audience? And like, if we were actually successful in building something that sparked a movement, well, like, what should that look like and what are the potential caveats? And I think that, when we're making business decisions, there are all these rules that come into place, whether it's different certifications, different laws, all these different policies, different unit economics that need to come into play. But when we're creating art, none of that really matters. You're given permission to just think as creatively as possible. And so I feel like a lot of the discussions that we have are essentially the same thing, but like removing a whole bunch of constraints that may otherwise stifle a little bit of that creativity. So the parallels would be that we're constantly in discussion trying to find the best possible metaphor that has the least opportunity to be misinterpreted. And we're always thinking about what happens if we actually successfully pull off the thing that we're hoping to do. Who might be included in that conversation? Who are the allies and the distribution partners to make sure that it actually can blow up? And so I think while the output of what I do may look really unique and different, the journey on how we get there is actually quite similar. I think the common enemy that we're all fighting against is actually apathy more than anything else. And to create something better requires us to constantly be invested in the idea of progress. And progress rarely, if ever, equals perfection. And so the key is actually to put yourself in a state or in a flow or in a structure that enables you to consistently be on that sort of innovative curve, right? And the way you fall off of that is if you start thinking, well, nothing that I do really matters. None of this is making a difference. I'm not feeling fulfilled because it's not hitting these metrics that I think are important. And so I think the true enemy is always going to be apathy, while the real work is like, oh, how do I stay optimistic and realistic enough to ensure that I am constantly doing better? And so progress is sort of a journey that I think we all need to be sitting on and riding and holding on for dear life. And in doing so, like, we need to focus on not just progress, the illusion of progress that makes us feel good, but actual real progress. And so I think there's always going to be a dance there. And you're never going to please everyone. Someone's going to think what you do is useless or not enough or not good enough. But when we look back on history to see, how we got here, I mean, that's sort of what we do. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, but we're still taking that 1 step forward because that's really the most important piece.